Imagine you stood there, tray in hand, staring at the menu board. A Big Mac combo now costs $15. The same meal that used to be $5 after a long shift at the factory. Across America, millions are waking up to the same cold truth: fast food is no longer fast, no longer cheap, and no longer for the working class. Now, that price tag bites deeper than the hunger. McDonald's, Taco Bell, KFC, names we grew up with are turning into memories overnight. And it's not just the corporations collapsing. It's the late night meals you can no longer afford. The family outings you cancel. The teenage jobs that vanish. This isn't just market decline, it's a left behind of affordability. In an era where a $20 bill could feed a family of 4. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1, Burger King. Can you imagine a town where the only hot meal left just closed down? It's happening quietly, relentlessly. Over 400 Burger King locations have shut their doors across America, many in working-class neighborhoods where the nearest alternative might be miles away. In the South and Midwest, revenues have plunged more than 30%, leaving not just shuttered buildings, but something harder to replace a sense of stability. For many older Americans on fixed incomes, fast food isn't just fast, it's essential. It's where dinner gets bought after paying the utility bill, where a widow grabs her only warm meal of the day, where students working 2 jobs finally sit down for something hot they can afford. And Burger King used to deliver that, not just burgers, but a breath between battles. But when the doors close, everything closes with them: first jobs for teens, options for single mothers, simple routines for the elderly who can't cook anymore or can't drive far. Now, with prices rising, food inflation up 28% since 2020, a combo meal that once cost $5 is now $13 or more. Add gas. And for some, it's no longer reachable. The vanishing of this option isn't small. It's a blow. One more place that used to say, "You're welcome here," now whispers, "We're leaving you behind." A single mom in Missouri said, "It wasn't just food, it was one less thing I had to fight for." If even the most basic comforts are disappearing, who's still fighting for everyday people? Number 2, McDonald's. There was a time when a $5 bill meant something: a hot Big Mac, fries, and a drink. A small treat after a long week. A way to say, "We made it." But now, a Big Mac combo costs $13, $15 in some cities. Not because it's better, just because everything else is broken. Wages have stayed the same. Rent, gas, groceries, they all climb. And McDonald's, the last place where families could eat without thinking twice, now feels out of reach. More than 500 locations have shut down. In many towns, it was the last place to meet, to work, to feel seen. Now, what's left is a familiar sign on an empty lot. A symbol still standing. But not for us. It used to be part of our lives. Early morning coffee before work. Saturday lunches with the grandkids. Late night stops after a long shift. Not special. But it was what we could count on. Now, it's self-checkout screens, cold prices, and fewer smiles. You can't help but feel disappointed. We worked. We paid taxes, we followed the rules, and now, something as simple as a shared meal feels like a privilege. McDonald's didn't just change, it drifted away from the people who built it. Younger generations don't even notice. Gen Z calls it outdated, irrelevant. But for us, it wasn't about trends, it was about tradition, familiarity, belonging. A laid-off warehouse worker said it best. It's like seeing your best friend from childhood. Wearing a suit you can't afford. Walking past you like you were never there. So yes, McDonald's still stands, but it no longer stands with us. And if even the most ordinary things now feel like luxuries, what kind of country are we becoming? Number 3, Subway. How did the biggest restaurant chain in America collapse without anyone noticing? There was a time when grabbing a sandwich from Subway felt like the smart choice. It was quick, affordable, and for many, a healthier alternative in a world of greasy food. It fit neatly into a busy workday, offering something warm, fresh, and dependable. But today, that feeling is gone. Subway has shrunk from 27,000 locations to just 20,000 in a few short years. What was once the largest restaurant chain in America is quietly disappearing. No headlines, no farewell, just more closed signs taped to glass doors. Customers have noticed the difference. The bread feels limp, the vegetables look tired and the meats are pulled from the freezer, not sliced fresh. The store layout is narrow and cold. Staff move mechanically. Their greetings as empty as the booths. For office workers and commuters, Subway used to mean convenience without guilt. It was the go-to lunch break, the 15-minute escape from a gray cubicle. Now it's no longer comforting. It's just another stop on a shrinking list of places that once made life manageable. The symbol of sensible eating, of everyday balance, has lost its voice, and no one seemed to ask why it went silent. A woman leaving the store in Toledo said quietly, "It used to feel like someone cared about what I put in my body. Now it feels like I'm bothering them." If even the food that once stood for control and care has turned cold, what choice do we really have left? Number 4, Pizza Hut. Is there anyone who grew up in the US who doesn't remember those Friday nights under the red roof? The smell of pan pizza? The dim yellow lights? The red plastic cups sweating with ice. For many working class families, Pizza Hut wasn't a luxury, it was the closest thing to going out. It was where birthdays felt big, where a pitcher of root beer and a booth full of cousins meant you'd made it through the week. But in 2025, that memory is closing one location at a time. Pizza Hut has shut down more than 500 stores in recent years. Entire towns, especially across states like Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan, are left with nothing but delivery-only shadows of what the brand used to be. And for the people who relied on those dine-in nights, the impact goes beyond nostalgia. Families on tight budgets have fewer and fewer options to sit down and connect. Grandparents who don't use apps or delivery services are quietly excluded. Parents working 2 jobs no longer have that dependable Friday night ritual to hold the week together. Now, it's just another box dropped at the door. Eaten alone, microwaved again. While Domino's and MOD Pizza race ahead with smart tech, Pizza Hut is stuck. Stuck with large stores they can't afford, outdated menus people don't crave, and a model that no longer fits how people live or eat. What used to be the safest choice for the middle class is now the forgotten one. A brand built on family tables has become an errand in between errands. And maybe the saddest part is, no one says goodbye when a booth disappears. It just goes quietly. If the places that once held our best memories are fading, what will our children remember instead? Number 5, KFC. It used to be everywhere. The face of the white-haired man in glasses, the promise of 11 secret herbs and spices, the red bucket passed around the table. KFC wasn't just fried chicken, it was tradition. But in 2025, something strange is happening. KFC is disappearing, quietly, without headlines. More than 500 stores have closed in just a few years. Sales in states like New York, California, and Illinois have dropped by up to 20%. And in many small towns, KFC is just gone. For many families, KFC was the meal after Sunday church, the backup plan when the week got too hard. It was warm, quick, and affordable. But now, a 2-piece combo with 2 sides costs $11, sometimes more. That's no longer a simple meal, it's a financial decision. The The stores haven't kept up. Same old menu, same cold lights, plastic chairs from the 90s. While Chick-fil-A and Popeyes push new flavors, sandwiches, and spice, KFC has stayed still, but customers haven't. They've moved on to cheaper, faster, or simply fresher. And the result, one by one, KFCs are vanishing from small-town street corners, taking with them more than food. They take away memories, a spot where grandparents used to treat the kids, a stop after church, a piece of what felt like home. Have you ever driven past where your old KFC used to be and just see weeds growing through the cracks because when even Colonel Sanders is fading from view? Maybe a part of America is disappearing with him. Number 6, Wendy's. In 2008, more Americans are asking the same quiet question: what happened to Wendy's? Once a trusted friend in the fast food world, steady, warm, and quietly dependable Wendy's is now fading into something unfamiliar. Hundreds of stores have closed across the country. Entire neighborhoods that once had 2 or 3 locations now have 1. And it's barely holding on. Wendy's used to mean very much to our families. A square patty on a toasted bun, hot, meaty, made to order. It wasn't the cheapest, but it was honest. For working class families, it felt like a small upgrade without breaking the bank. But today, even that modest comfort is slipping away. A Dave's single combo used to be $5.99. Now, it's over $10 in many states. And when gas is $4 a gallon, people start choosing eat a burger or get to work for millions on tight budgets. Wendy's has quietly moved from trusted choice to not worth it. The spaces feel neglected. Many stores haven't changed since the early 2000s dim lighting. Stiff seats, a sense of being rushed in and forgotten. Customers report more cold meals, more wrong orders, less care. The things that once made Wendy's better aren't being kept alive. Competitors are adapting. Shake Shack, Chick-fil-A, even Taco Bell are reinventing what fast food means: cleaner spaces, better service, fresher choices. But Wendy's, it seems, frozen in time. The lights are still on, but the trust is flickering. Have you ever walked into a place that used to feel familiar and suddenly feel like a stranger? Because when the last place you trusted no longer feels like yours, where do you go next? Number 7, Dairy Queen. Sometimes, it wasn't the ice cream that made it special. It was the moment. Dairy Queen wasn't just a stop, it was a reward. A pause in life where things felt good, even if just for 5 minutes. But now, even that pause is fading. In the last 3 years, more than 300 Dairy Queen locations have quietly shut down. In the Midwest and South regions that once treated DQ like a hometown hero, customer visits have dropped by nearly 25%. And those who still go, many say it doesn't feel the same. Maybe it's the flavor that hasn't changed in decades. Maybe it's the prices that no longer match the product. Or maybe it's the feeling that Dairy Queen didn't grow with us. While competitors launched plant-based treats, trendy new swirls, or reinvented what dessert means, DQ held on to what once worked and let it melt away. The stores look tired. Plastic chairs bleached by sun, signs cracked and faded. Teenagers don't line up like they used to. Parents don't pull in for post-game cones. The line between nostalgia and neglect has grown painfully thin, a woman in Georgia said. We used to drive 20 minutes just for a blizzard. Now, I forget it's even there. Dairy Queen was once where summer memories were made. Today, it's just another lonely outpost on a forgotten highway. Number 8, Jack in the Box. Once upon a time, especially in the West, Jack in the Box was a necessary part. It was the 24/7 safety net midnight burgers, fries after a long shift, a quick bite between errands. It was messy, affordable, and always there when life got too fast to sit down. But in 2025, it's becoming the brand people forget to remember. Over the past 2 years, Jack in the Box has seen a 9% decline in revenue. Dozens of suburban locations have quietly shuttered, and many that remain feel like they're running on autopilot. No energy, no crowds, no spark. And the biggest problem? No clarity. The menu is chaotic, too many items. None of them memorable. The service is hit or miss. And while other brands are working hard to speak to younger customers, Jack in the Box is stuck in its own odd humor, strange ads, and lack of identity. Gen Z isn't buying it. They're looking for cleaner, greener, more focused choices. In-N-Out succeeds with simplicity. Whataburger expands by leaning into regional pride. Meanwhile, Jack is just loud and lost. Once, it was the place you could count on. Now, it's the app icon you scroll past because nothing looks good enough to tap. And for the people who grew up with it, who remember late night drives, cheap taicos, and soda refills at 2 a.m., there's something quietly heartbreaking about that. Number 9, Popeyes. Do you remember the sandwich that made headlines, started arguments, and sold out nationwide in hours? In 2019, Popeyes wasn't just selling chicken, it was making history. The spicy chicken sandwich was more than food, it was a phenomenon. For a moment, it felt like something made for the everyday American had finally won the spotlight. But 2025 tells a different story. Since its peak in 2000, Popeyes has lost 18% of its customer base. Over 200 locations, many in working-class neighborhoods, have closed or gone silent. The buzz is gone, the lines are gone, and so is the promise. What happened? Popeyes bet everything on one breakout success. But viral fame doesn't pay rent forever. The quality dipped, the wait times grew, service became unpredictable. In some towns, customers say the chicken sandwich that once changed the game now arrives cold, late, or not at all. That's it. For families scraping by, Popeyes used to be a rare comfort hot, filling, and just cheap enough to feel like a treat. It was the meal you grabbed between shifts, or after picking up the kids. Now it's often closed, or worse, open and disappointing. Meanwhile, Chick-fil-A pushes consistency. Raising Cane's grows with a clear identity. And Popeyes, once the underdog hero, feels directionless. A truck driver in Mississippi said, "That sandwich used to feel like something made for people like me. Now it feels like I'm not the target anymore." So when a brand built on working people's loyalty stops showing up for them, what else slips through the cracks? Because if even Popeyes is turning its back on the everyday American, who's still building anything for us? Number 10, Boston Market. It never tried to be flashy. No neon signs, no booming commercials. Just real food, warm chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables you could recognize. Boston Market was the quiet promise that even if you didn't have time to cook, your family could still sit down to something that felt like home. Now, it's vanishing. From over 100 stores across the country, Boston Market has shrunk to fewer than 300. And the number keeps dropping. Many younger people don't even realize the chain still exists. The lights are still on in some places, but the life inside is fading. It wasn't built for speed. It wasn't built for the age of apps and trends. While chains like Sweet Green and Panera Bread evolved, adapting to new tastes, quick service, and health-conscious choices, Boston Market stood still. And in a world that punishes slow adaptation, standing still is the same as falling behind. For working parents, Boston Market once bridged the gap between fast food and home cooking. It showed up when mom was too tired, when dad was late, when a family just needed to feel like a family again without the stress. The rotisserie chicken, the cornbread, the smell of gravy and roasted vegetables. Those meals were more than food, they were a breath in the middle of the week. But the world sped up. Rents rose, ownership changed hands, the pandemic hit, and Boston Market, with its slow ovens and quiet values, couldn't keep pace. So when it disappears from your town, no one protests. No headlines, no outrage, just one day. You look over at the old corner where the lights used to glow amber, and find nothing but a dark window reflecting your own memory back at you. Number 11, Taco Bell. For years, Taco Bell was the unofficial refuge of the working night shift. A place where a nurse could grab something warm after 12 hours on her feet, where truckers could pull over for cheap fuel both for their rigs and their bodies. It wasn't gourmet, it wasn't healthy, but it was there. And it was enough. In 2025, it's not enough anymore. The prices have crept up, but the wages haven't. A combo meal now flirts with $10. That's a full hour of work for someone on minimum wage. Meanwhile, the food feels empty. Folks say they leave full, but unsatisfied. The fun is gone, and for many, so is the trust. The deeper lost community. That Taco Bell on the corner used to be a reliable landmark. Now it's shuttered 3 days a week, understaffed, overpriced. One regular, an older man from Bakersfield, says it's the only place he used to treat his grandkids after Little League. Now he can't afford both the gas and the tacos. This isn't about branding, it's about reality. The reality that one more place where people once felt welcome and fed no longer fits into a stretched, thin life. And when that quiet purple sign dims, it doesn't just mean a closed kitchen. It means another light in the night has gone out for millions who already feel left behind. Number 12, Checkers Geisha Rallies. Checkers was never about choices, it was about necessity. It was the kind of place you hit when time and money were both in short supply. A godsend for bus drivers between shifts, for janitors on their feet since dawn, for teens juggling school and work, fries that didn't judge you, burgers that filled a gap. Not a dream, but now, the gap is growing wider. In 2025, Checkers has become a ghost of itself. Over 25% of locations are gone. And where they remain, prices have surged, but quality has flatlined. The double drive-thrus that once buzzed with back-to-back orders now echo with silence. And for communities already teetering, that silence is deafening. Ask anyone who depended on those greasy bags to stretch until payday, like Tina, a single mom in Mobile, Alabama, who used to feed herself and her 2 boys for under $10. She now skips meals so her kids can still have that one treat. But Checkers doesn't offer the same deal anymore, and neither does life. These closures don't just eliminate food options. They eliminate rhythms, traditions, relief. They rip out one more tile from the fragile floor working families are standing on. And as another Checkers sign goes dim, the message to millions is clear: if you're poor and hungry in America, even your crumbs are getting cut. Number 13, Hardee's. There was a time when Hardee's was more than a pit stop. In small towns across the South and Midwest, it was the only place open before dawn. The only place that still served sausage biscuits like Grandma used to make. Families didn't just eat there, they gathered. They caught up. They breathed. Now that smell of bacon and coffee has turned into dust. Hardee's has lost over 200 stores. And with it, entire communities have lost something harder to measure: routine. A retired steelworker in West Virginia used to meet 3 buddies at Hardee's every Friday morning. 2 have passed. 1 moved out. The restaurant closed last year. Frank eats alone now. At home. In silence. In bigger cities. Hardee's was already fading. But in rural America, it was a lifeline. Somewhere you could afford a hot breakfast. Somewhere seniors could linger without being rushed. And when that goes away, what fills the space often? Nothing. Carl's Jr. Tried to salvage the brand, but it couldn't salvage the meaning. Big burgers can't replace familiar faces. Corporate strategy can't rebuild connection. In 2025, when another Hardee's closes, it's not news. But for those who depended on it for warmth, for routine, for a moment of belonging, it feels like a door shutting on a part of their life, one that probably won't open again. Number 14, Arby's. For many working class Americans, Arby's wasn't just another drive-thru, it was a quiet alternative. A warm sandwich with sliced roast beef instead of greasy patties, curly fries, a chocolate shake after a long shift. It wasn't glamorous, but it was dependable. It was different. And for a while, that mattered. But in 2025, Arby's feels like a name from a different time. Fewer than half of its once thriving locations remain fully operational. In rural areas and suburbs where families used to stop in for a calm, slightly better meal, the lights are off. Or worse, still on, but the parking lot is empty. For those who couldn't afford premium fast casual but wanted something more than a fried combo, Arby's was the middle ground. Now that ground is shrinking. Prices crept up, while the menu stayed stuck. Meanwhile, the service grew slower. The roast beef became drier. The experience lost its meaning. Many customers, especially older adults who once saw Arby's as a little treat, no longer find comfort here. What was once a stop for a quick sandwich now feels sterile, forgotten, unwelcoming. One retired construction worker said, "I used to go there after work, sit with a shake and just breathe. Now I don't even recognize the place. Arby's isn't just losing customers, it's losing its place in people's routines." And when a place built on familiarity starts to feel unfamiliar, that's when it's already halfway gone. Number 15, Little Caesars. There was a time when a $5 bill meant something. It meant dinner hot, ready, and enough to fill a family for the night. Little Caesars wasn't just cheap pizza. It was an answer for working parents, for college students, for anyone trying to stretch the week's final dollars. But in 2025, that promise is slipping away. The price of the famous hot and ready has climbed to $7 or even $8 in many places. For some, it's still affordable, but for those scraping by, it's a breaking point. And worse, the quality hasn't kept up. Thinner crust, less cheese, more corners cut. What used to feel generous now feels hollow. In towns where Little Caesars once stood proud with orange signs glowing at dusk, the stores are dimmer, the foot traffic lighter. Some have closed entirely, quietly. For families trying to feed 3 kids on a single income, that little orange box used to mean relief. Now it means compromise. It's more than losing a pizza place, it's losing a backup plan. A safety net. A moment of "we'll be okay tonight." One single mom in Ohio put it simply, "That pizza used to save me. Now it's just another thing I can't rely on." And when the most humble comforts start slipping out of reach, what kind of country are we becoming for the people who need help the most? These weren't just restaurants. They were cornerstones of routine, comfort, even joy. From the golden arches of McDonald's to the familiar trays at Boston Market, each name on this list once meant something real to someone: a quick meal with dad, a Friday night treat after work, a taste of freedom for $5. But in 2025, that meaning is fading. When prices climb beyond what everyday families can afford, when service becomes hollow, portions shrink, and the warmth is gone, people don't complain, they just stop going. And when enough people stop going, even the biggest brands begin to disappear, not with a bang, but with silence. American fast food isn't just about convenience, but it was a cultural glue, and now that glue is cracking. The question now isn't will these places survive, but what do we lose when they don't? Which of these brands once filled a part of your life? Do you still visit Or has that chapter quietly closed if this video sparked a memory or a thought? Leave a comment below. We want to hear your story. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll be here, pulling back the curtain on the places, products, and promises that once defined the American dream and now risk being lost forever. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal.